Hello, can you hear us?
I see the thing moving. Talk a little louder, maybe. But
Can you hear us?
he hears us. Okay.
Finally.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Eric, for your technical support.
Me know when you post it.
Okay, are you ready?
Well, I want to make sure there's nobody going to be listening, so we don't want to. We want to wait for a minute, I think.
Sure.
Not that they'll come live anyway, but I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, well, let's try to be succinct on there. Okay, let's go ahead and start.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Take two.
everyone.
We're going to start with the questions we couldn't get to last time. And the first one is from Vios. The first one is from Vios. He says, thank you, Aki and Daniel. Can you please say something for a daily minimum routine? Well, of course, Dasclos only insisted on the introspection at the end of the day. So that should be done by everybody. And takes only 10 minutes, so it's not a big requirement. The other one is the morning meditation of the three suns, or what we call the good health exercise, which is just another version of the three suns. And that's good to do in the morning when there's a lot of light outside, and because it helps charge up this thing. And here, what we're doing is we're using the ethers. We're learning to develop ability to use the imprintive, the kinetic, and the aesthetic ethers in seeing, feeling, and moving the energy in our bodies and through these exercises. And if you want to add something to that, both of those are to help us. But if you want to add something to that, it's okay to do like a 15-minute one sometime in midday, but to do it for somebody else. Create a golden ball of light and send it to their head, and wish that their thoughts be clear and creative. Or a ball of pink light, rosy pink light, very pretty, whitish, misty pink light. Send it to their heart and wish that their emotions be calm and they center in love. Or a blue ball, a sky blue ball of light, and send it to their solar plexus and wish for them good health in their material body. Something like that's a very nice thing to add to our daily routine.
Yes, from my side. First of all, please live your daily life being conscious of ether, element ether, and practice etheric breathing. This is the first thing. And the second thing, as he mentioned, in the morning, three sounds to cleanse yourself, to start your day. And at the end of your day, introspection just for 15 minutes to cleanse yourself, cleanse your three bodies. So this is the second one. The third one, to make it possible, to make all exercise possible, we have 5 golden keys. Observation, and the concentration, and the visualization. And we meditate, and we do the introspection with it. So please practice observation in your daily life, and practice concentration on whatever you want to focus on, and visualization and exercise. So practice 5 golden keys, especially observation is so important. Calming down your daily emotion and thoughts, be in a neutral point to observe everything. This is the second thing. And the third one, as he mentioned a little bit, sending the healing light wherever you care. Likewise, as Christ taught us, love other fellow human beings as your own self. So little by little, just practice to express your love to yourself, of course, but to other people as best as you can. This is my advice.
Vios also asked about the meaning of Christmas, which of course is such a deep, that's a seminar unto itself. But let me just say couple of broad strokes. Well, of course, the point of Christmas is the coming of Christ into earth. And the real important part of that is that he doesn't come until humanity has reached a certain level, just to the point where they can actually start to try to understand this. Some of them are capable of getting. Most people had no idea what he was talking about. It was so advanced. Love your neighbor? That was just like mind blowing to those people, you know? So it's been over 2,000 years and it's moving, but it's not like everybody understands it now. So the meaning of Christmas really is, it represents it's time that's the direct ray of God could come to earth, which means to come to human beings. So he's born in a manger, right? Or born in a cave with a manger. That represents our heart. You know, so it represents a time when man's heart was capable of first receiving these teachings. And of course, it's going to take a long time till they master them, of course. But that's one of the meanings of it. That's one of the real important meanings. We can talk about that some other time, I think.
Yes,
There's so much to say about it.
yeah,
But this happens on any planet where there's humanity. So it's not just Earth. It's he comes to any planet once that human race on that planet reaches a certain level of awareness.
I feel probably we can hold one seminar on this topic. So in this time, I would like to suggest you to read this book, the book Joshua Emmanuel the Christ. This book is written by Daskalos, our teacher, according to his own memory and Akashic record. So it's a real event which had happened around that time, according to cosmic memory. So there is no kind of twisting or covering up. For me, this is the real Bible. So if you like, please take a look at this book and to know the truth, what really happened, and about the Christmas. There is a chapter, probably chapter 3, called the Nativity, that shows all the events you can experience together with this book. And please meditate on it. But please remember, as Daniel mentioned a little bit, manger means our heart center. So all the event, when we study deeper, we will know all the event is symbolically written. For example, manger means heart center. Like 3 saints from east means our 3 bodies. Like this way, we understand not only the physical event, the deeper meaning of the content.
Next question is from Sarah. I was wondering about consciousness after we pass over. Do we know that we're dead? I remember Daskal saying that most people don't, but I also heard the opposite from people who've had out-of-body experiences. If we would die, how certain is it that we would realize that we passed over? Also, can we still learn and work in development toward enlightenment after we die? Well, yeah, because you don't die, of course. Yeah, you have the consciousness you have with the instant you pass over. It's exactly the same as you had the instant before you died. Our consciousness is constantly changing all through our life. And at the moment of death, we don't become enlightened. We just pass over with the same consciousness to a higher level of life. Still in our psychonoetical body, still having the appearance, the residual image of our material body, and still answering to the same name, still having the same desires, interests, and fears too. Except on the psychical plane, all that it changes a bit. It's not quite like it's on Earth here. So there on the psychical plane, we kind of manifest our paradise. It might be a hell to somebody else, but it could be our paradise. Dasco said that 80% of the people don't realize they passed over. Why? Well, because it's like this. It's exactly like this, only much, much better, much, much brighter, much, much more comfortable. It's same rivers, I mean, mountains, rivers, oceans, the same environment. It's just at a higher rate of vibration. And we live in that a higher rate of vibration and a higher, more refined body, the psychonoetical body, because we're now in the psychonoetical world. Okay, some people who have out of body experiences say it's opposite, that they know they're dead. Well, first of all, out of body experience, you're not dead. So, but they know they've come out of their body and passed over. I mean, passed out of their body. But very few people can really do that. And a lot of the people that think they're doing it, they're just in their own subconscious. We won't go on to that right now, but there's a difference between the real psychical plane and the shell we live in on the psychical plane. When we're out of our body, we're in the psychonoetical worlds, but we could be very close to this world. We can actually see what's going on in this world. And yes, definitely, if you have this interest to try to awaken now, you're definitely going to have it with you then. The trouble is that not too many people make much advancements on the psychical planes because it's so perfect for them. Here we have all kinds of trouble and we have to overcome obstacles and challenges, and we really have to make an effort to grow. There, everything is sort of like you like it. I mean, it's you're manifesting what's in your subconsciousness, those things you like in your subconsciousness. So it's not exactly the same being awakened in the real psychical plane.
Okay. Yep. Yes, as Daskaros said, most of people subconsciously, not consciously, transit to the other dimension, like a fourth dimension. So usually we sleep. And when we wake up, as he mentioned, it's a similar condition. But slowly, we will realize that, something is different. And slowly we will realize that we passed on. This is the normal pattern to pass on to the other dimension, what we call physical death, but there is no death like that. Because when we train and raise our self-consciousness, when we are developed, we can transit to the dimensions or go back and forth consciously. So we can transit like that way. But normally we sleep and we wake up in the other dimension. And after passing on, of course, we continue to study and learn and develop ourselves, because the psychonoetical world, after passing on, it's a part of our one incarnation, a circle of possibility. But as he mentioned, we experience things not harsh or difficult like in the third dimension. Its condition is much easier, and we continue to learn. And the person, I understood your question, like the people who does the out of body experience. I felt you mean near death experience things. So the people who experience kind of passing on and come back to this dimension, they are planned to experience that and come back to tell people how was after passing on, something like that. So they experience kind of similar experience and they tell people, like passing through the tunnel, but it's kind of programmed or it's guided like that way. So when we really pass on, physically die, we sleep and wake up in the other dimension. Just let me check I answered everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Linda is asking, what does a well-lived incarnation look like? Well, the short answer for that part is Christ, the ultimate. That's the ultimate well-lived incarnation. But then we have all the saints, and I mean the real saints, not the ones that were just put up and presented to us as saints, but the real saintly people, like Saint Francis, for example. And you know, when you watch Dascalos, for me, he's a saint. I mean, he hasn't been given the test by the Catholic Church, but for me, he's a saint because he's living his life for other people. He's laying down his life for his friends, which is everybody. And laying down your life doesn't mean just sacrificing your material body. It means giving your life over to help others. So really, to me, that's the best example of a life well lived, that we don't live by all these possessions. We live really by helping others. And on your deathbed, I guarantee you're not going to think about how many cars or things you amassed in life. You're going to feel the best about the places where you selflessly gave to somebody else. Those are what's going to be like the highlights. It's not going to be the cars and houses and all that. So how do we live the teachings well in societies that are so focused on material gain? Christ told us, you're in the world, but be not of the world. In other words, don't get caught up in all this money, possession, fame, fortune game. Get caught up in the real game, which is to become a better human being, to raise your consciousness and uplift your awareness and express better and better.
Beautiful. I like it. Teaching says joy of a human being is to possess something, and the joy of God is to create something. It's a creation. Teaching says that way. So, of course, ultimate aim is to express, live like Jesus Christ, Logos. But at our level, in our daily life, please try to express the nature of God. I'm going to provide a meditation exercise to express nature of God, the next Patreon meditation. So it's coming soon. I'm working on that. So if you like, please try. And in your daily life, whatever happens, please express the nature of God, which is love. Love, impersonal love, unconditional love. Whatever happens, just show your kind, warm heart unconditionally. And the next one is kind of power. This power is like just a sun always shine on us, just like that way, without regardless the condition, just keep doing something steadily, That's going to be the calm way. It's silent, it's very calm, but constantly they are doing their work perfectly, holy spiritually. So express some power like this, little by little in your daily life. And the next, the wisdom. Wisdom is the wisdom of God. So in our level, in our daily life, when we start to think about the kind of unnecessary things or start to rotate kind of same pattern of the way of thinking or feeling, just through introspection, just catch it, and just calm them down, calm our feeling and thought, and start to read the book of the teaching or a good word or whatever to enlighten you, to keep your vibration, higher vibration. Like that way, slowly, slowly express the three nature of God. That's going to help you a lot.
One other thing I'd say on that is that just looking around, there's a great variety of selfishness to selflessness. There's a big range there, and different people are different places on that ladder. But just remember this, and you can look at it outside and you look at it inside especially. Egoism lives by getting and forgetting. It forgets the people that help them. to get the things they have. But the inner self lives by giving and forgiving. That's a big difference. And just try to find out where you are on the scale. Oh, it's okay to do things for yourself, but not to be possessed by them. That's the whole thing about the question about possessions, Nothing wrong with having possessions. You can use them to help people. But if you're a slave to your possession, you're not helping anybody, especially yourself.
We can't neglect or look down the earth element, but we need to overcome the earth element. Let's go next.
John is asking, could you speak about the Gnostic Gospels a bit in relation to our studies and your thoughts on entities, archons, and if they exist and affect humans regularly, or most of these forces disembodied thought forms of the lower astral realms generated by the collective unconsciousness, subconsciousness of human beings? Your explanations of elementals throughout Diving with the Whale are absolutely amazing. Okay, let's just take that one first. Yeah, a lot of people read the Gnostic stuff and they say, oh, that's like the Researchers of Truth. But it's not. I mean, there's some elements there that overlap, but the prime difference is what you're mentioning here about these archons, which, as I understand in the Gnostic system, the earth is created by the bad guys, right? By the evil ones, and to enslave man and all that. Not that we aren't enslaved, but we don't have that feeling and that understanding in the Researchers of Truth, because everything comes from the divine plan, the archetypal laws, causes, and principles in the divine plan that manifest everything. If it's the other way around, the way the Gnostics say it, that, oh, there's some evil entity has taken and he's made all this, that sort of means that that entity, he would have to be doing evil in God. And that makes no sense. If there's evil in God, then how can it be God, right? There can be people, because God gives free will, there are beings who choose to do evil. God didn't do that. That's what man has done to man, not what God has done to man. So that's the free will issue. So there definitely are these entities. Some of them are, you can call them entities. Some of them are true demons cast by the fallen ones. They can't possess people like you believe. They can influence you, but they influence you through your own set of evil elementals, basically. So if you have something in you that's vibrating like killer or whatever, certainly a demon is going to try to urge you to go ahead and act on that. It can't touch you, it can't possess you, it can urge you. Now, the elementals humans create are called human in nature demons, because some of them are so bad. These are the ones in the Bible that were throwing the boy into the fire and caused all the problems, right? These are human in nature demons, and they can possess humans because humans have created them. So if they co-vibrate them, they can get a hold and attach. And if you repeat them strong enough, they can become so strong that they overpower the personality. Suicide, schizophrenia, all these kind of bad things are coming from the elementals. Pathologically, pathology aside. So it's both. It's really a demonic forces, the human ones as well as the fallen ones, and those just influence you. But the human ones can affect you, and of course, that has to do with your vibration. That has to do with what you're doing. So we have the power, but we just allow ourselves to be influenced by these low vibrating entities and thought forms. You want to go from there, and then I'll pick up the next one?
No, I need to say something.
That's why I said, do you want to go from there?
Yeah.
Okay, please go.
Okay. In this teaching system, you can also, I'd like to, I think it's a same book. You can study about the demons and archdemons in Joshua Emmanuel Christ book, chapter 19. Please take a look at it. It shows detail, but I would like a little bit, in this session. So archangels are the pass through El Shaddai, Logos, and Shekinah, Holy Spirit, and manifest and express themselves in a world of existence. Express oneness, selfhood of oneness with the absolute beingness, right? But the demons, they are not expressed or emitted. They are in the absolute beingness, but they are not expressed. But they think themselves they are greater than the God, and they think they are controlling everything. But actually, they can't express, they can influence, they can influence material world, psychical world, and noetical world, but not beyond that. So it's a little bit, they think themselves, they can control everything and greater than God. But they can't go beyond, they can't influence beyond the world of duality. So, like he said, we have the different type of demon, the real demon, as I explain now, and the human demon. This is a elementals which we create. So they can't influence or enter in our material body, psychical body, noetical body. They can't go in. Real demon can't. But our demon, human demon, which we create, because it's elemental, so they can possess and they can dominate. And once we create this kind of vibration, the real demon can influence by co-vibrating. And they think, real demon think of they are controlling and everything. So we have to be very careful what we produce, check our demonic elementals. And of course, they have 7 veils, archdemon, 7 veils, and lots of demons under the like archangels, and angels, like archdemon and demons. Please study. It shows, it's, as I said, you can study in this book deeper, but please be careful about the sound of them.
The last part of his question is just wondering if you will be doing a workshop in Mexico this winter or perhaps the future. We don't have anything scheduled, but we like Mexico, so we'd like to do one in Mexico.
He loves Mexican food.
Some of us are going down first week in April to Mexico to celebrate the marriage of our good friends and researchers of truth, Andres and Maria. So we'll be down there, and then we'll probably talk about future workshops. Okay.
The next one. Are you okay? Next one.
John K. is asking, did Daskalos talk about pride? The best way to go about cleaning the personality of negative with pride. Yeah. Well, pride is just, one of the faces of egotism. What's prideful? I mean, what is pride, really? What is that? It's feeling like really good about yourself, right? Yeah. And it's nothing to good to respect yourself. Good, that's a good thing. But to have pride like, I'm so much better, or I have all this, it's pride is just an egotistical expression. And it's the ego feeling quite happy about itself. That's what it is when taken to the extreme like that. So the best way to cleanse it, of course, is to try to introspection, because you got to catch your egotism. That's the whole point of introspection, is to try to catch these egoistic behaviors like pride. And you may have an introspection on the day and somebody said something to you and you got all swelled up with pride about something. That's ego. So we don't want that. We don't need that. There's something so much greater behind that. Pride is the ego feeling good about itself. But what we really are looking for is to find the inner self, which gives us self-dignity, not pride, but self-dignity.
Okay. Uh, this is exactly human demon. Back to the former question. The pride is one of the human demon, Christ said. Christ mentioned the seven human demons, which is the first, adultery, and the second, pride. Third, uh, pride, stealing. Third, the stealing. And next, fourth is lying. And the fifth is cruelty. And the sixth is like hatred, enmity. And the seventh is malice and aggression. This is seven human demons, like a six and the seven has two part, two components, but hatred and sorry, uh, hatred and enmity is number six, and the seventh is like malice and aggression. So those all sevens are human demons. So we have to cleanse this, of course, through introspection. And we have the work of Hercules, number four, hind of Artemis, and also fifth, the Stymphalian birds. We are working on this at the seminar. So we have a specific exercise to cope with it, and also daily introspection. And I would like to share one beautiful word which I was very impressed in the teaching. It says, the more we know the teaching, the more deeper we study the teaching, and the more we know about the teaching of the universe, then we will know we don't know anything much. So the more we study, we will know we don't know anything. We don't know anything as we feel. So humbleness is so important. So what I want to say here is that the more our self-consciousness is developed and expand, the more we know and more we become humble. So the pride is automatically kind of reducing less and less.
Even in the Christian tradition, when they talk about the seven deadly sins that Aki just mentioned, they also talk about the seven virtues. And the way to deal with the seven deadlies is to apply the seven virtues. So, for example, with pride, you would apply the virtue of humility, to be modest, not to be puffed up about yourself and prideful. So you can just do that, concentrate, meditate on the meaning of humility and modesty.
And this one is also, it says about the human demon in chapter 23 of this book. So please study deeper.
The second question is about how Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute talked about one of his interactions with his spirit soul, his higher self. He was told that his higher self was taking a simultaneous incarnation as a woman in the USSR at the same time, and that both personalities were doing similar work. I'm curious if Dasglos ever discussed whether a spirit soul or a higher soul can take multiple simultaneous incarnations. You're not talking about bilocating, but two separate personalities. Just curious. Yeah, he said very little about it, but he did say that at the level of the spirit soul, it can do anything. It's personality, we can't do that. But as a soul, you could do that. He said, but it's not necessary, and it's seldom done. But it probably has been done. I'm sure it has been done, but it's not a common thing, the way he described it. But it is totally possible. In fact, once a person who gets self-realized, they can create an animal, a living animal that you can't tell the difference from a regular animal. So there's so much more. We don't even want to talk about it. It's just way too high for us right now. But yeah, it is a possibility.
Yes, as he says, once we self-realize as the soul self level, we can create whatever we wish, and it's gonna whatever we create, it's gonna manifest and materialize it instantly. This kind of ability we will gain when we reach self-realization. So this, what it says, but the experience of Robert Monroe, that's really possible. We can create, as many as possible. We want our own, figure, materialize our own figure once we self-realize and do the work and come back to one body and come back. It works like that way. So it's possible. But you said two separate personalities, but I think one self-realized personality can project as many as bodies possible.
Okay.
Next.
Yeah. How can I, this is from Michael, how can I safely take my kids on a search path? Well, you don't mention how old your kids are, but for sure, until they're 7, they don't need much more than just being marinated in love. That's what they need. After that, you can start introducing them to basic human values. You don't have to get into the multi-level dimensions parts of our teaching. Teach them basic human values, kindness, selflessness, those kind of things. Those are the things that the children need the most. And how are you going to teach them? Well, they're going to watch you and they're going to imitate you. So this means that you should have these things. You should demonstrate these things to your children. But after 7, it's till 20, till 14, they're a little more still open to what you have to say until they get to the troubled teens. But they're forming, the reason why that happens is they're forming their own personality. They're breaking out of the psychoanalytical shell of their parents and believing what their parents believe and forming their own opinions, creating a sense of self that they've not known before. When they're under 7, they're just a kid dreaming in their fantasy land primarily. But the sense of self starts to come in most of people after the age of 7. So just basic human values. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, like as he says, until 7 years old, they really absorb everything very much, so it's a perfect timing to educate something to our kids. And from 7 to 14, the percentage of absorbing something is a little getting lower because they create their own personalities. And after 14, let's get more kind of, how can I say, inflexible to absorb. And after 21, it's almost impossible to, how, I don't want to say impossible. We can update our personality, but it's difficult. We have to work consciously very hard to improve our personality, something like that. It goes something like that. So whatever we give until 7 years, up to the 7 years old, the perfect time. But we should really respect their own free will. We should not force it. However, I love this teaching. I devote myself to this teaching, but I should not force this teaching to my child because they might pick other, choice. So, yeah, if they enjoy, if they are happy, as long as they want to, learn and study, then maybe we can share as their brother or sister naturally, enjoying ourselves. This is what I would like to recommend. I raised my son with this teaching, but I never forced it to read this teaching or anything like that. But we just enjoyed basic, very basic esoteric practice together in our daily life. He was happy. I was happy too. So naturally, natural way is more important. And if we educate something to our kids, raise their self-awareness is more important. Show love or moral to other people. Developing self-awareness is more important than what we learn or what we study. This is my advice.
Laura asking a question about animals.
Hi, Laura.
When we see animals in the psychoanalytical planes, as in our dreams, are those forms really elemental projections of ourselves with symbolic meaning relative to us, but not the true animal themselves? What do the true forms of animals look like? Are they more archangelic? Do they still resemble their appearance in the psychical world? Yeah, the ones you have in your dreams are your creations. Those are your elementals about those animals. And you've made a good point about they have a relative meaning to you. Wouldn't be necessarily the same meaning between us if we dreamed of the same animal. For example, in Christianity, if you would dream of a big white cobra snake, you would scare you because snakes are bad, right? But in Hinduism, that represents the Kundalini. The cobra represents the Kundalini. So to them, it would be an auspicious dream, and they would be feeling very happy about having it. It depends on what your own mythological sense is in your subconscious. You create our own mythology, and we give meanings to everything. Everyone gives totally different meanings to everything that they see. Even when people like together, we see something, we each are ascribing our own meaning to it. So that's what the animal part in your dream is. There are true animals there, but they're in there as forms. That's what Daslow says. It's just as the form, not the individual animal. For example, like this, you have a dog, right? And you have a little Sparky dog and you love him and he has a certain behavior and you do certain things that help him create that behavior. So what you're doing is you're creating your own elemental and implanting it in the dog, and the dog acts it out. Nesco said, show me a person's dog and I'll show you their elementals, because they exhibit the elementals. Sometimes you'll see a pit bull dog, mean junkyard dog, biting, snarling, trying to bite you. But then you have that same kind of breed with somebody that loves the dog, and it'll be a nice dog. So we are creating this elemental. So in our dream, and then when we pass over, if we want, that dog can be there. So Dasco's had this friend, he had 11 dogs or something. He's just all about dogs. And he just loved dogs, and he died. And so Dasclos goes visiting, and instead of 11 dogs, there's like 5. And he says to the fellow, what happened to your other dogs? He said, oh, I don't care so much about those, which is showing us that what we care about will materialize in our psychonoetic world, either in a dream state or when we pass out of the material body. And the form represents the animal in the psychic. I mean, it looks like the animal. Higher version, more pure representation of it. But in the material world, as you know, we have the archangels at the top, and then they have their sub-angels and sub-angels all the way down. So if you have a dog, is this archangelic form. The archangels work on the archetypal form of the dog, but then they have to split it out into different species. So there's lots of different species, and each of those have a governing angel that guides that particular species all the way down to the individual angel or nature spirit in that animal. So what does the nature spirit in the animal look like? It looks exactly like the animal. The nature spirit in the plant looks exactly like the plant. So.
Okay, I know that. When we dream, what we call dream, when we have a dream, most of the time, most of the case, it's we create and project elementals of the person or animal or whatever. It's elemental in our psychoanalytical shell. So the animal, which you mean, in your dream, mostly it's symbolically represent some symbolic meaning, or what you call real animal, which you imprint and project. So it can be both. But the animals, now we are talking on animals, so I just concentrate on the animal. Then animal, which is existing in this dimension, third dimension with physical body, of course they have a, the counterpart of the psychical body and noetical body, because everything is created from top down, right, and existing in this dimension. So of course in the real psychonoetical world, they are existing, as a form. But in the real psychonoetical world, there is a kind of animal which we don't see in this dimension. Little kind of funny, different looking animals is also there, or animals which is already extinguished in this dimension. It's there. We can observe it out of the shell of our psychonoetical shell, outside of our psychonoetical shell. So this is my answer.
Now Jabulo is.
Sorry,
I
I'm
thought you
sorry.
were done.
I'm sorry.
This is my answer. I thought that's what.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just wanted. So it looks like archangel. It's more like those animals are just like animals, in the psychoanalytical world. But it kind of looks like a little angelic. The animal look like angelic things. It looks nature spirit looks like angelic or fairy things. It's also we can observe. But they, basically it's animal, not like archangels which you mentioned. Yeah.
Now, Jabulo is asking. First, he wishes everybody Happy New Year. Then he's asking, is it common to find it difficult to differentiate between the memories of dreams versus the memories of physical events when one starts to advance with visualization? Yes, definitely. Definitely. And even a vision you have in your meditation, it can become difficult. Now, let's ask the question, what's the most real? The experiences we have in the physical plane? The images and dreams we have? Or visions? What's real? Well, they're all relatively real. But let me just give you a point. Most people think, oh, the images from dreams, oh, they're just dreams. It doesn't mean that. They're not that real, right? But think about this. You can have a nightmare or a beautiful dream, but you can have some really strong dream. And man, you will walk around for 3 days feeling that effect of that, whether it's a good effect or a bad effect. You can walk around for a long time. Whereas maybe an event that happens on the physical plane, it doesn't have much, it doesn't register on you much. It doesn't affect you very much. So the reality has to do with, it's just a higher and higher reality. But don't think of those dream images as non-real. They are real experiences, Desclose says, that we're having. They're not physical, they're psychical, but they're real nonetheless. And they can have a tremendous power on you. And that shows their relative reality, the strength of their relative reality.
Yeah, as he mentioned, so what is real? We have to understand the dream is a real experience in the psychoanalytical world. So it's an event, real experience in the other dimension. So you mentioned the real experience in this dimension, real experience in the other dimension, which we call dream. When we develop the skill of visualization or expand more self-consciousness, self-awareness, then how can I say? Even in this dimension, doing the daily things, we can see, opening our eyes, we can see what we experienced, what we saw in the other dimension last night or 10 years ago, easily. So the more we develop our self-consciousness and self-awareness, then the border between, oh, this is real, this is, it's going to be, it's going to be borderless. And that we can feel, we will be able to feel everything is coexisting through the layer of the vibrations. And we can see through it. We can visualize and also see clearly, even in doing something else in this dimension. Please enjoy to explore.
Now the next one is from Dante, but it's messed up on the printout. So can you?
Oh,
I
but before then, maybe they are Nabro
I
has
just.
another question.
Oh yeah.
Like a dwarf. Do you have one?
I have a second question, but I don't have Dante's.
Okay,
let's
I
go-
do.
Okay,
So,
we'll go on with the second question.
Mhm.
I noticed that on the left side of the symbol of life is the holy spiritual side. Yes. This seems to correlate with the Roch in the book of Genesis, the energy, force, breath of life in all creatures. Technically, Roch means the Holy Spirit. Ruha means the breath of life in all creatures. But that's obviously is there more to that question? That's all I got.
yeah, you're answering
Okay,
the
great.
second one, right? Now,
Yeah, it is that. It is the definition of Roch is the God as the Holy Spirit. So it's one God, but three expressions, not three different gods. It's just one God. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. But those are three different expressions. And yes, it is the same.
and the Pentecost.
I
What's
don't
the
have,
difference?
see, that's what I'm saying. I don't have that one.
Oh.
Let me see what you got. It goes right to Dante.
Oh, okay.
Do you
So
have?
this,
Oh, wait a minute. Here, I got it.
you can read this one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Here you go.
Yeah. In the Researchers of Truth system, what's the difference between the Holy Spirit / Comforter that Christ talked about and sent to the apostles on the day of the Pentecost? Well, the Comforter is just a name for the Holy Spirit, but when it comes, it does different things. It can bring you comfort at all levels. That's why they call it the Comforter. It can make you feel peaceful in the heart, in the mind, in the body. But when they was sent for the disciples on Pentecost, this is when they had the flames of the fire show up in front of their head. It was doing a specific thing. Human beings pass from instinctual level of consciousness through the subconscious levels, through the awakened levels, onto the superconscious levels. This event, the Pentecost with the flames, was it's called initiation of the disciples going from the state of awakening consciousness into super consciousness. That's the significance about that particular thing. But the name Comforter and the Holy Spirit can be used synonymously.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I agree. And the Holy Spirit, as the Holy Spirit, of course, it's in other words, the order of archangelic order, yes. So, but the Pentecost is the baptism of fire. We are originally the archangels. So, and we receive the blessing from the other archangelic orders. That's the blessing from above. So it's an experience of attuning and communicating with archangels, which we call baptism of fire. In general, it's called a Pentecost. But he explained it, and the Holy Spirit, and it's exactly how you understand.
Here's Dante. He's got a question about not attuning to the earth element. I recently took
Hi,
up
Dante.
what?
No, just say hello to Dante.
Oh, hi, Dante. I recently took up ceramic making cups. Curiosity brought me to the dirt on the ground itself, pulling it straight from the ground, sculpting it, and firing it into a coffee mug. It's been a fascinating joy. Necessarily, research and newer understandings of the elements within the dirt has given me a deeper appreciation for its potential. With camping or hiking, I also feel connected, and I appreciate the dirt itself. I found a new incredible appreciation for the dirt, cozy yet out of the ordinary. I also feel a type of connection to the dirt and earth now. Then, last seminar, Aki's words were, don't attune to the earth element. I hope I'm not doing that. Any thoughts on the matter are appreciated.
Oh, Dante.
Well, you are attuning, but you're not attuning to the earth, what she's talking about that's also in the earth elements. It's just like every day we walk around in a sea of elementals, good and bad. Which one do we attune to? But it has to do with what's going on inside us. We can attune to really bad things that are not bad things. Now, the earth is an element, is obviously one of the most important elements for the physical plane. But in that element of earth, there are also entities, lower entities. So if you try to stand on the earth and feel like you're opening your chakras to the earth, you could get hurt. You could attract some of those entities by trying to pull in things. What you're doing, you're attracting basically to the pure element of earth. No problem about that. You just don't want to attract to entities and energies that's just focused on the dirt. The dirt has a very grounding effect. People love the garden. Most people get great benefit out of it, and they're not harmed by negative entities because they're vibrating in a place that doesn't attract them. But it is capable. Some people have and do this, where they try to attune to the dirt to get the benefit, to get help from these lower level entities, which in the end just ends up destroying them.
Yeah. Thank you for the good question, Dante. What I said in the seminar, first of all, maybe I should explain this way. What I meant, earth element, is like, think about this. In our daily life, in this dimension, our bodies, everything is made of earth element. And in a word, without this earth element, we can't exist. Nothing can exist in this dimension. So everything is created in this dimension is made of, contains earth element. So it's a precious element. But we mentioned in the last question that we are the children of spirit and fire. So in our bodies, we are spirit and fire. So we have to overcome earth element, water element, and receive the blessing of the fire, and more than that. This is our process of evolution. So what I meant is, of course, it's very good to attune yourself with the earth, the pure, ground or dirt or whatever. But please don't be the slave of earth element, which I mean slave of your desire for the material things. We need things to make a living. We need money. We need clothes. We need house. All of them are made of earth element. But most of people, most of human being on this planet is mostly focused on this earth element. But we need to wake up. We are not just that. Our aim of living in this dimension, having the life and having life in here, is not gaining or obtaining earthly elements things and be slaved by them. We need to overcome. We should wake up. We are not only that. We can't neglect or abandon the earth element, but we need to go beyond that and overcome and make it under our control. This is our aim. So in this sense, we should not keep attuning only earth element. We should not. This is what I said in the seminar. But earth, pure earth element and the planet earth is so beautiful. When I was young, when I was 20s, I love to lay down on the ground. Especially, I love to lay down on the ground, with morning dews shining under the light. I loved it. And one day, when I was laying down on the ground, wherever I liked, I experienced, I'm not sure I should share this with you or not, but I became a part of the land. I became a part of the planet Earth, and I could hear and communicate with the spirit of Mother Earth. So please enjoy your camping or making ceramic. Love, earth element. But at the same time, don't forget, you are not only that.
Sarah's asking a question. The last time at the Q&A, you mentioned that we have great changes ahead of us in 23, and I was wondering what you meant by that. I would like to talk more about that, but I really would like to talk more about that, but it's not time. It's coming very soon. And when the things start changing, I think we're going to have to address this, not only from the physical side of it, but from the spiritual side. Because the foundations on which our society has been built are cracking at the seams. Right now, how many people notice it? And by the foundations, I mean education, banking, spiritual, religious systems, governments. I mean, things are really about to change. And once they start to change, and I think we can talk more about them as to their meaning and what we can do about it in our individually. But I'll just leave you with this. I'll just make some broad strokes. Daskalos, before his passing, one time said, I think that maybe the students weren't paying attention to what he was trying to teach at the moment. He says, you guys got to pay attention. Something's coming, not just to your country, but to the whole world. You have to get ready. That's it. He didn't like to talk about this kind of stuff very much, but he said that. And then one other thing he said was, when Russia, China, and India join together, it's the 11th hour. Well, what just happened? China, well, first of all, at that time, India and China were like arch enemies. China had tried to invade them in 1963. So they weren't friends at all. But just recently, Russia, China, and India started having meetings. And now they've formed what's become called the BRICS, which is this gold-backed financial system. And now others have joined it. Brazil joined it. Saudi Arabia's joined it. There's like 17 countries going to join it, which means already, right now, more people are using gold-backed currency than are not. The United States, Canada, England, they're still on the old fiat currency, has no asset value behind it. So when Daskalos said, when those three come together, India, China, and Russia, it's the 11th hour. Well, they've come together. So there's changes coming, and certainly in the financial system, it's going to be huge. And then she says, can you give us some tips how we can manage these times to be helpful to others? This is the most important part, because the more you can raise your awareness and consciousness, uplift your awareness and raise your consciousness, the more you will be able to help others. And others are going to need help, because this is going to come, like Christ said, a thief in the night. So, but I want to tell you something. This is what most people do. They hear these things, these warnings, and they start to think about how to protect themselves. Now, back in the 80s, I was studying, before Daskalos, I was studying with this lady named Hilda, an older lady, and she would give a talk every Thursday night at St. John the Divine Cathedral. And she gets 2,000 people and never advertised. And she was really in. There's earth changes coming. You guys got to get ready stuff. She was way ahead of her time. And she said this, and she said, now look, if this starts to go down and you're in New York City, don't even go back to your home. Try to get to the country. She was giving them warnings, and it scared some of them, and it scared this couple. And they started thinking, well, we got to get ourselves to a safe place. So they started looking on the map and studying places, and they finally figured out the safest place they thought on Earth was, and it was the Falkland Islands. So they moved to the Falkland Islands right when England invades it and has a war. So this is what Christ means. Those who try to save themselves will lose themselves. Those who don't care about saving their little self will find their self, the big self. So this is the important thing. You want to take up on that or? Okay.
Have you done?
Before, well, she got another question. So,
But another question, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Yes, most of people are already feeling we are transiting into something different. Most of people are feeling something different is going on. No. So please follow this kind of intuition, but please don't lose your central point. We in the seminar and in your teaching, we practice lots of exercises. They stand in the middle of the three-sided pyramid or four-sided pyramid or whatever. The meaning of standing in the central point is to keep the perfect balance. So whatever happen in your outer world, inner world, try your best to keep it neutral point. Actually, this is which is the highest viewpoint to see everything. And when we have a calm, loving, full of wisdom, position, then we can observe everything. We can receive the information in most proper way. So trust yourself, your inner self, the power of your inner self, and spend your daily life. Whatever happened as the event in your outer world, keep yourself in love, power, wisdom. As I already mentioned, the next meditation in Patreon is practice this. So if you like, please tune in.
Okay. So it's basically we're training to have peace in the midst of chaos. And we can do that when somebody cuts us off in traffic. We don't have to wait till big dramatic world changes happen, but we just should be practicing that because that's a skill we're going to need, being able to be peace in the midst of chaos.
Yeah, and I would like to add practically then, Aki, what should we do, in our daily life to express the nature of God? Love, power, wisdom. Okay, when you have a choice in your daily life, or loving way, not loving way, please pick loving way. Okay. And the next, when you do something, whatever you do, just constantly, diligently, and sincerely continue to do. Please do whatever you can do. Like sun shines to us, water flows, constantly. Just like that, manifest, express whatever, even small things. Just continue. It's gonna be strength in you. That which means you are expressing one nature of God. And wisdom, okay. Whenever you start to think about negative way or unnecessary kind of circulation of the way of feeling and thinking, then please start to catch it and stop to think about it and start to read a book which inspires you, or read the book of the teaching or whatever, and manifest this teaching in your daily life. That's the wisdom. Yeah.
Sarah's also asking, could you explain what Jesus meant when he said, let the dead bury the dead? I think Dasko says it means the unconscious people, but what's the difference between a conscious and an unconscious person? Good question. Yeah. The story she's talking about is when some fellow comes up to Christ and he says, oh, Rabbi, your teachings are divine. I want to follow you. But my parents are very elderly, so let me go home until they pass over, and then I want to come and follow you. And he says, you follow me now. Let the dead bury the dead. Now, this is very curious because this fellow's parents were alive. But on things like when he raised somebody who really had died, like Lazarus, he didn't say they were dead. He said, they're not dead, they're sleeping. But these people are dead. And it means unconscious. They're living unconsciously. So an unconscious person lives habitually. They have these habitual patterns. They get up, they put the socks on in the same way every day. They kind of eat the same food, drive the same way to work. They just live mostly subconsciously. That's what it says. 80% of the people's behaviors in this world are subconscious. Now, there are some who have become conscious, and that just means they know what they're doing. but they're not self-conscious yet. He made a big point about that. They're conscious, but they're not self-conscious. They know what they're doing, but they don't know who they are doing it, who they really are doing it. They think of themselves as a personality. So, but just back to the conscious thing, is a conscious person is awake, is an awakened person. And there's a great bell of awakening starting to ring now. And a lot of people are awakening during this period. This is people call it the Great Awakening. And I don't think there's ever been a time on earth where the whole earth will undergo the same awakening process. Different places, yes. So that's primarily what it means. Those people who aren't awake. They're just living subconsciously. They listen to what the mainstream media news tell them. They listen what everything. They don't decide for themselves. They don't seek the truth for themselves as Christ advised them. He didn't say, believe what others tell you the truth and follow that. He said, find the truth yourself, and that's what will set you free. So that's what we want to move out of this unconscious state into a conscious state of seeking the truth.
Great. We already explained about the development, the 5 levels of development of consciousness. At the beginning, we start with the instinctive consciousness. But the next day, we live in subconscious level. Once we learn something, we practice. And once we master it, we just repeat it. Our daily life is almost like that. So most of the human beings on the planet is living subconsciously right now in the second cycle of consciousness. It's like an octave of the music scale. Okay, but now we are the researchers of truth. The repetition of life subconsciously. It's not like that. Life is not like that. We are awakening and we are trying to develop more and more. So this is what Christ said. That the person, the very, he said, he who has ear to hear, let him hear. So when we are awakening and wish to develop, then the teaching, comes through us. So in that way, we will develop. But we should respect that the greatest gift from God to us is our free will. Free will is the first gift from God. So it's our free will to pick to awake or sleep subconsciously. It's up to us. I understand the meaning of this like that way. Next.
Jacqueline is asking, as a present-day personality, I am using the ethers to create a sky blue sphere in and around the solar plexus. Can you please explain why the sphere is described as Holy Spiritual? Sure, because basically the only 4 energy centers that concern us are on the spinal cord. There's others on different organs and stuff, but what really concerns the researcher of truth is these 4. And the first one is the genital area, the lower area. We don't mess with that. That's perfectly under the control of the Holy Spirit. The second one is the solar plexus, which is under our control. It's a place that's safe to concentrate and store energy. But the reason it's called Holy Spiritual is because each of these centers are either conscious or awareness. It's either consciousness or awareness. In the lower 2 centers, and I'm talking about the solar plexus, it's purely Holy Spiritual consciousness. There is no logoic self-awareness in it. So we create this sphere, it's just energy, and it has a vibration, and it's helping our body. But it's not self-aware. There's no self in that sphere. However, way down the road, you can put your self-awareness in the sphere. And Dascos gave a meditation for that, but it's a very advanced one. But by itself, that sphere is purely Holy Spiritual because that's the center of consciousness. Now you move up to your heart center, that's a center of consciousness and self-awareness. So there's both in there. And Dascos says, here we have to separate the consciousness from the self-awareness. And he was always doing it in a lesson by, breathe to your heart, feel the rosy light in your heart. Now ask yourself, who are you? Who is doing that? So he's trying to get you to separate that sense of the rosy light from you who's creating that. with the ethers. Yeah.
Okay. And the head center is purely self-awareness, center of the self-awareness. And then please look at the behind us, that symbol of life behind us. Maybe the flower covered a little bit there. Can you see the sky blue zone? There is a center number 9. At the center number 9 represents the psychical world, but it represents our material. It's connecting to our material body, which is the sky blue, right? And our material body is built wholly spiritually. That's why we created, sky blue light, the solar plexus. The center is connecting to our material body because in our solar plexus, it's a storehouse of the etheric vitality. From here, from this center, all kind of etheric vitality is distributed to our material body. So it's a really important center, and for our material body, and this material body is made holy spiritually. That's why we created the sky blue. Is the highest vibration for the material body when we self-realized. That's why we create a color vibrating like this.
Maybe you only do one more.
I don't think so. We have Bios and also
I know. I mean,
Maria.
we have to wait for the others. There's so many. Let's do Bios. We've got one more question.
Okay.
Can you say something about the Lord's Prayer? Like, break it down. Sure. Now, the two parts of the Lord's Prayer. The first part was written by Christ when he was 16, and he used to say it every time he'd go someplace new, he'd get off and he'd go to the temple and say this prayer to the Father. But 16 years later, at the Feast of Bashida, he added the second part. But let's just break down the first part now. It starts out, as you know, our Father who art in heaven. Now, the key important thing here goes, our Father. He didn't say my Father. Christ was giving us all equal status as offsprings of God. Our Father who art in heaven. Well, where's heaven? Well, earth is the first heaven. He speaks of 7 heavens, and earth is the first one. So it's everywhere. And Dasko sometimes would do that when he would say this part of the prayer, who art in heaven, which is everywhere. Just to make sure people understood, it's not some location we're trying to get to. It's everywhere. It's a vibration we're trying to attune to. Second part, hallowed be thy name, or originally in Aramaic, it was sanctified be your name, which just means be holy. The name should be holy. We should treat the name as holy because it is a holy name. It's an emanation from God, therefore it's holy. So, but really you got to think about this a little deeper. He's really talking about it being in us. It's not just out floating around the world that the name's holy. It's got to be in people where it's to be holy. And the next part was, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. When has God's kingdom and will not be done on earth? Or where, maybe I should say where has that been? Where is God's kingdom not fully functioning? Where is God's will not fully active? Only in the human kingdom. It's only in the human beings and their expression that they express something other than that. And again, that goes back to our first statement about the free will as the first gift of God. So people are free. We're not robots. We're not some sort of robot he created and winds us up. We get to choose. And some people choose poorly. So we need to think about that. What he's really saying is the kingdom come. The kingdom is the rule. What's the rule? God's rule is balance, order, all these beautiful things, right? But it's not really in us fully. It's in some more than others, but in some it's not doesn't seem to be showing much at all. So what we want to do is to try to bring that kingdom and his will to be done in us. That's what it means on earth, in us. because it's functioning quite nicely and everywhere else on Earth. It's just what man does. You have something?
Oh, done?
Mhm.
Okay. Actually, this is a Bios's question. Okay. Hi, Bios. I made a meditation exercise to work on the meaning, to attune with the meaning of the Lord's Prayer long time before in the seminar. So maybe I'm going to upload it to Patreon at some point. Please study the meaning deeper of the word. So we have three types of brain, making a prayer. The first is just reciting mechanically, automatically, just a word without thinking of anything. But the second, way is like a feeling or kind of thinking of the meaning of the word of the prayer. But the third one, which we should try, is like penetrate the meaning of the word of the prayer, and with proper breathing, we visualize while making a proper breathing pattern, rhythmical conscious breathing, and visualize the meaning of the prayer, or meaning of the words of the prayer. That works a lot. The most effective way to recite the prayer. And once we recite the prayer like this way, we can invoke innermost self in us. So the real prayer, once we practice and master it, we can vibrate, raise our vibration to God in us. So that's why it's such a most important process. That's why before we make a lecture or make a meditation or we study something, we always make a prayer, right? Lord's Prayer, right? The reason why we recite the prayer is God doesn't need the prayer because God is perfect and everywhere. But we, as our present personality, needs to lift up and raise our vibration to understand better the teaching or to meditate better. That's why we need the Lord's Prayer to invoke God in us. So please study. I'm going to upload maybe at some point soon, but study yourself the meaning. Daniel explained, a little bit about the meaning of it. Study by your own deep meaning of it and visualize the meaning of it with proper breathing. That's beautiful. I always feel so good. Raise myself, small, my personality, raise up high, like going up the elevator of the vibrations to penetrate all levels to the most sacred part of me. So please experience it through your prayer.
All right, everybody. Good. I'm sorry we can't get to everybody's questions.
Sorry.
This is dying out here. Let me just finish real quick.
Bruce, yeah. Sorry, Bruce and Mario. We will answer to your question next time. Thank you very much for beautiful questions.
Okay. See you next time.